batter, you're considered and called the cleanup hitter. And the cleanup hitter plays a very significant role because the cleanup hitter brings it all home, brings them all around the bases. And so, I hate Dr. David, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the Megillah.
Okay. Hey, Saul, how you doing?
Oh, very good.
All right, good. So this is the one who's going to bring us all home. This is the fourth and final parak, the final chapter of Megillas Rus. And tonight we have a lot of psukim to go through and a number of Rashi culminate in the excitement and of course the great and famous ending. So let's pick up from parak Daled Pasuk Aleph, fourth chapter, and the first pasuk. The pasuk tells us, Boaz Allah Hashar, if you remember now, after this negotiating and navigating with Rus, the relationship that was had at the beginning, towards the middle of the third parak, that was the beginning of what is going to be ultimately the relationship in its final and firm version. So it was first and foremost going to be the need that Boaz is going to have to be sure that there wasn't somebody else who was first in line. The Ploni Almoni, we're going to see has a name, and we're going to discuss that a little bit in Rashi. So the pasuk says in Parak Daled Pasuk Aleph, Boaz Allah Hashar. So Boaz, he comes to the shar, he comes to the matter of the gate, and he comes to the entrance of the city. Vayeshev Sham, Vihine, he's sitting there, and Vihine, behold, what happens? A Goel Oiver. The other Goel, who's the Goel? The Redeemer, he's nameless for now. He's over, he passes by. Now, nothing is by chance, nothing is random. Chazal tell us that this was all divinely orchestrated. And what happens? Ashadiber Boaz, this is the person for whom Boaz had spoken to Rus, of the person who has first dibs, if you will, has the right of first refusal. And so this Redeemer, he passes at the shar, and the goel is over, and this is Ashadiber Boaz. This is the one that we are reminded, the concept of Rachel Bitcha Ktana. You should know that who it is that we're talking about. That's the one Boaz had spoken about in Vayomer. Now there's a conversation that happens between Boaz and Ploni Almoni. Vayomer Surah Shvapod Ploni Almoni says, come over, please, if you will, sit down over here. Make your presence known and please remain. And of course, we know famously, we refer to him as Ploni Almoni. It's like the John Doe in Hebrew, the version of the unknown, unnamed person. So the Ploni Almoni, we're going to see the etymology of that name, Ploni Almoni. But he tells Boaz, Ploni Almoni, to sit here, please. I have something to tell you. I have some negotiations, some business to take care of with you. So Rashi tells us the first thing is, why not write his name? Why not tell us his name? If you turn back for just a moment, Parak Gimel, Pasuk Yud Gimel. Let's turn back to Pasuk Gimel, Pasuk Yud Gimel, Parak Gimel, 13th verse in the third chapter. So the Pasuk tells us, how do you know his name? Like we see that we call him Ploni Almoni. Why not just call him by his name? Rashi's saying, why not just refer to him as his name? What's his name? So if you read this Pasuk a little bit more carefully, Pasuk Yud Gimel, it says, Lini Halayla. This is the conversation being had between Boaz and Rus. And he says, stay the night. And in the morning, if he is going to redeem you, it's talking about Boaz saying, if the Redeemer that I'm referring to, if in fact he's going to redeem you, Toiv Yigal. What does it mean, Toiv Yigal? The word Toiv Yigal is, Tov is his name. So the name of this fourth person is Tov, and it's going to be Tov that's Yigal. If he's not going to Lagalech, he's not going to redeem you. I'm going to redeem you. But it's interesting, if you figure out how to read that verse that way, you stay the night, and in the morning, if he will redeem you, so let him redeem you. And he tells her the name of the person who he's talking about. He's talking about Tov. The name of this person, it's supposed to be the one who's going to redeem. The name of this Ploni Almoni his name is Tov. Now, what's the reason Rashi wants to know? Why is it that his name is not written? Why do we say Ploni Almoni, John Doe, so-and-so? So Rashi says, we don't write his name because he doesn't do something that's considered a merit. He doesn't do something that he's supposed to do. He doesn't do something that would be a mitzvah for him to do. What doesn't he do? He doesn't redeem her. He doesn't want to. He doesn't have any desire to do it. So therefore his name is omitted. The explanation of what Rashi is telling us, the reason why his name is omitted is because he didn't want to discharge his duty. He didn't want to fulfill this obligation as the kinsman. And so therefore he did not mention his name Tov, his name as good, meaning that was his name Tov. And so therefore if I would say the Tov here, he is good, So that would be not synonymous with having him do something that he's supposed to be doing. So that's what Rashi explains why we specifically refer to him as Ploni Almoni. John Doe, it's not considered measured by calling that person in kind and in fine favor. That's talking about somebody who's delinquent, derelict, missing, not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's what Rashi tells us. So he tells them, Surah Shavapot Ploni Almoni, come please, if you will, sit over here. V'yosef v'yeshev, and he comes over and he sits down. V'yikach asara anoshim. So anytime you want to have some type of, a court procedure, you want to have an official declaration of something that has to take place with a ratifying of whatever constitutional thing that needs to take place, you have to have a quorum. What's that quorum? Vayikach asara anoshim. He takes 10 men. The 10 men that he assembles to call this into order. Vayikach asara anoshim. He takes 10 men. Mizikne ha'ir, the elders of the city. Vayomer, and he says to them, Shvupo vayeshevu. He says, sit here in the spot. You have to formulate this beis din, this ad hoc type of court, this type of judging body, and then you would be able to, you'll be able to see what we're talking about, and you'll judge between Ploni Almoni, myself, and the estate, and the heritage, and the acquisition that we're about to talk about. So they sit down, they seat themselves in this proximity, and then conversation then takes place between who and who. The conversation now takes place between Boaz and Ploni Almoni. What's the conversation between Boaz and Ploni Almoni? Vayomer legoyel. He says to legoyel. Now it's interesting. He refers to him first as the goel. He's almost like affording him honor. He's giving him kavod because he doesn't yet know that he doesn't want to do it. Right now he's going to assume that he does want to do it, and he's calling him Mr., Master, Rabbi, Doctor. He's referring to him as the Goel, is the one who is the Redeemer, because he's just assuming that's what's going to happen. Vayomer the Goel. He's almost like laying out the conditions, laying out the components of how this is all supposed to be played out. Chelkas hasadeh, you should know that there's a parcel of land. This Chelkas hasadeh, asher la'achinu le'elimelech, it belonged to our brother. Now the mishpacha, it's not his brother exactly, but it's talking about Elimelech, my brother, our kinsman, our family, Elimelech. So Machra Naomi, it's up for sale. It's up for sale by Naomi. Naomi, his surviving wife, and she's looking to sell it. And there should be somebody who's going to buy it and is going to perpetuate the name of the mishpacha and the family. It's up for sale. And not only that, you should know this Naomi is setting up for the second part and the second clause of this deal. Whenever you have a deal with somebody, you have to make sure that all the points are made very clear. Hashava mistei Moav. This Naomi, who's coming with the field of her deceased husband, so she's coming from where in the stay? From the fields of Moab, Moabite country. Pasuk Daled, Va'ani amarti egla oznecha lemor. And I decided I wanted to tell you about it, which means that maybe he thought that I didn't have to tell you about it. Maybe I could have just rendered the deal complete by myself consummating the deal. Vani amarti egla oznecha. I wanted to tell you, you wanted your ears to hear about it, lemor, to tell you. I want you to buy it. This isn't a false loophole type of a deal. You're the redeemer. You're the one who has the rights to it. You have the first right of refusal. You have the right to take it. You should take it. Knei neged. You should go and in the presence, neged hayoshvim, of those who are sitting, acquire it in the presence of those who are sitting opposite you. V'neged ziknei ami, in the presence of the people or the elders of the place. Im tigal goal. And if you want to redeem it, you want the field to be yours, you have the rights to it, it's yours, take it, redeem it, have it. V'im lo yigal. And if you do not want to do it, agidali. You please do me a taiva, tell me. Ve'eda, and I will know, ki ein zulas chaligo, that there is nobody else that's in line besides you to have the rights to this field, except for one other person. Lo, there is ein zulascha ligo va'anoichi acharecha. There's nobody else besides me. It is only me. It's you and it's me. So if you want to have the field, take it. It's yours. First dibs. And if not, it's me. So now, here's what's fascinating. Here's a part of this that I don't think everybody necessarily remembers. See, we all know that the Ploni Almoni decides that he doesn't want the field. He doesn't want to go through with this deal. But actually, the very first part of how this negotiation goes is maybe not necessarily how Boaz wanted it to go. You ever talk to somebody and you're negotiating with somebody and you know what it is that you want them to say, and you're kind of setting it up for them in a way that you know you want them to say what it is that you're hoping that the outcome is. But here's what's going on. What's going on is that he has to be genuine. He has to be sincere. He has to be authentic. And part of what he's offering is he's going to take his the rights to the field. So what happens? Look at these three words. Vayomer anochi egal. He says to them, okay, I'll take the field. I'll redeem it. I'll be the guy. I will inherit this field. Now, under the auspices of Rachel Bitcha Ktana, which means that I want to tell you all the different parts of the deal, everything very clear. I want to tell you about the small print. I want to tell you about the very great and detailed specifics. That's where the next section is going to go in this parak. But for now, what we understand is that he's saying to him, you have the right to redeem it. If you don't redeem it, I'm going to redeem it. So maybe what's happening is that Ploni Almoni is looking at this as only a business deal. He sees or hears about a parcel of land, and all he's got to do is pay a little something for this parcel of land, and this parcel of land is going to be his. So he's very excited about it. And there's nobody else that's there. There's nobody else that's standing in your way. I'm the only guy that would be the contesting person that would protest against your purchase of it. There's nobody else, and I'm here to tell you that in front of this Lifnei Am Ve'eda, this 10 men, this assembly, this cohort, this Sanhedrin, if you will. So these people have the right to adjudicate. They're going to see this. I am just giving it to you. I'm telling you it's yours to take. Now, if you look at Rashi, the Eidah, there's no one here. Karov legal. There is no one as close as you to redeem it. It's you and it's me, and I'm giving it to you first. So now look at Pasuk Hey. Now I'm wondering what Boaz is thinking as he agrees to it. He agrees to, meaning the deal could have been finished right here, done. The pair could have ended, and now Ploni Almoni marries or acquires the field of Naomi and Shalom Al Yisrael, but that's not what happens. Boaz now tells him, here's the latter part of the deal. You want to be very clear, you want to be very sure and very certain to remember what it is that you're getting. I'll tell you what you're getting. Pasuk Hey, verse number 5. Vayomer Boaz. Boaz then says, let me tell you something. Now that you're willing to take it, now you're willing to grab the field. So you should know, B'yom Kanoischa Hasodeh, the day that you acquired that field, you've agreed to acquire it. The day that you acquired Miyad Naomi from the hand of Naomi, you should know it's also Ume'es Rus Hamoaviyah. It's also not just from Naomi, but it's also from the hand of Ruth, the Moabite. Now Rashi says, what's Me'es Rus Hamoaviyah? Look at Rashi. You have to buy the inheritance. You're not just buying the field like Stam, you're buying the inheritance. But you should know that that Naomi does not want to sell the field. It's like lahavdil. Please, I'm saying lahavdil a million times. You ever somebody wants to sell a house. So you can either sell a house with the furniture, or you can sell the house without the furniture. So yeah, I'm selling you the house, I'm selling you the field. But Boaz says Naomi is not going to want to sell the property, the field, Ella im kain tisaena, unless you marry her. That's a very, very important part of this acquisition, a part of this deal. He jumps and says, "Plenty of money, I'm going to take the deal. You want the deal? You're on Shark Tank. I'll have the deal." But he says, "Okay, I'll take the deal." He says, "Okay, wait a second. Here's the provision. You want the deal? You get the deal. But you should know that the reason why I'm going to tell you about Rus Hamoaviyah. I'm going to tell you about the Moabite Rus that comes along with the package, because Naomi, as we know at the beginning of Parag Gimel, she's interested in the future of her daughter-in-law. She wants to make sure she's safe and she's secure. She wants to make sure that she has a bias, that she has a house. So therefore, what's going to happen? Whoever acquires the field is going to also acquire her as a wife. So Rashi tells us that that's what Naomi's provisions are. Eishes Hames, she's the wife of the deceased son of Elimelech. Kanisa, you should acquire it. Kanisi the Hakim as Hames al Nachalosa. And the reason why you will have acquired it is in order to perpetuate the name of the deceased upon the inheritance. So it's interesting. It's not just simply to perpetuate the name of Elimelech, but it's also here clearly is to perpetuate the name of the wife of Rus. And this is going to be part of the Nachalosai. That's part of the inheritance. So what happens now? He says, hold on. You know, in checkers, I don't know if this is true, but I know when I was a kid, I used to play checkers with my grandpa of blessed memory all the time. We had a rule. And the rule was you can move your piece, but the second you take your finger off the piece, you can decide that you don't like the move. But when you take your finger off the piece, you can't go back. That's it. If you keep your finger on the piece, if you decide you don't like the move that you made, then you can slide it back to wherever you want to put it. But once you take your finger off the piece, forget about it. You have to stick with your decision. So now he wants to know that the decision that I made to take the field, did I take my finger off the piece or not? So he's saying, wait a second, I think I kept my finger on the piece. I'm not interested. You're now telling me that part of my purchase of the field is going to require me to marry this woman to perpetuate the name of her deceased husband? Hold on, rakarega. So no. It says, Vayomer HaGoel. So now the Goel says to Boaz, no. I can't do this. I am not able, I'm not signing up for this, I'm not interested in this, no way. Why? Pen ashchis es nachalosi. Because it would mar, it would make impure, it would make a blemish on my own nachala, and my own nachalosi. Now we have to understand what that means. Rashi's going to tell us very interesting. Meaning, literally, first Rashi says, Zari. It's like from his own children. So it's going to be some type of blemish. What's it mean that it's going to be a blemish? So the blemish is, Rashi says, Kimo nachalos Hashem bonim. Like we say, the nachalos of Hashem is his children, because it says pagam bezari. He says, if I accept this deal, it's going to be a pagam to my children. Why? Because the pasuk says that an Ammonite and a Moabite is not allowed to live or dwell into the community of Hashem. But here's the problem. So he thought that, one second, if a Moabite is in this deal, the pasuk says explicitly that a Moabite and an Ammonite is not allowed to enter into Kal Hashem. So I'm not going to accept this deal and marry this woman and then have a pagam, and my children are going to make fun of me and the family's going to have a bit of discord. No. But what was his problem? What's his toe? What is toes? What's his mistake? V'toh, he erred. Why? Because the pasuk says amoni v'la amonis, which means it's not who's not allowed into Klal Yisrael, into Knesset Yisrael? A male Ammoni, a male Moabite, but a female Ammonite and a female Moabite is allowed into Kal Hashem. So he made a mistake. So he's saying that this is going to be a mar, this is going to be a blemish. My children are machavik of me. The answer is that was foolish. That was not okay. So what happens? Since he determines that by him having the obligation to marry her, this would be a blemish on him, so he says, Galuchato, you should take her for yourself, redeem her yourself, and you should assume my right, I forgive it, you take my right, I'm unable to do it. Now here's what's interesting, if you think about this, we have this concept in the Gemara, Masechah Shavuos tells us, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh B'Zeh B'Mitzvos. We have an obligation to be an Orev. An Orev means a guarantor for others in the world of mitzvos. It's interesting to me when I think about his response to Boaz. Really what he's saying to Boaz is this. I can't do it because I interpret the pasuk to say that a Moabite and an Ammonite can't enter into Knesset Yisrael. I don't understand why he doesn't say to Uncle Boaz, 1 second. Why can you do that? Why is it not okay for me and it's yes okay for you? Why would you be willing to do that? Why should it be l'samar adam re'echa means that I can't stand idly while somebody else spills or sheds blood? I know it's not the same example. But here, in essence, what he's saying is that for me, I can't do it because I am righteous. But for you, it seems that it's okay. And Boaz doesn't say to him anything because, listen, if it's going to be okay, you know why it's okay? Because Boaz understood the pasuk. It doesn't say about a female like it says about a male. And so therefore, it's a very different thing. But meanwhile, he says, I'm unable to do it. So it should be really, if I'm able to do it, you should also be unable to do it. But he doesn't say this. So now what happens? And this is where things get interesting. The whole concept of how deals were consummated in the time of the Gemara, time of the Talmud, but in general, even today, you have, for example, you sell the chametz, or you have what we call a kinyan. There's a kinyan sudar, there's a kinyan chalipin, there's a kinyan b'mashicha. It's getting technical. But how do you establish a deal to be on mutual grounds of understanding? So, for example, when you sell chametz, you take a pen, both sides hold the pen up in the air, and you lift it up, and by lifting it up, it's the recognizing that both parties have a commonality of das, of thinking that everybody knows that we're on the same page. So now, that was also done by means of other things. One of the things that they used to do is by way of exchange, they would take off the shoe and they would, make an exchange holding the shoe and the heel, and obviously with the concept of chalitza and yibum, and they would spit in the heel and things of that sort. But here's what we have, which is very interesting, an acquisition piece. Now he's not going to give him a second chance to get this deal. Once he pulls out of the deal, he's moving right in, and he's going to make this deal his. Lefonim b'Yisrael, this was the custom. Lefonim means this was the old custom, the former custom in Klal Yisrael. ala ge'ulav ala tmura. This is talking about redemption and Tamura. So Rashi says, Zua Mechira, this redemption is the Mechira. Tamura is Chalifin, the Chalifin or the Kinyan, or sometimes we say by Kaparos, Chalufosi. This is my exchange. This is my exchange, so on and so forth. We want that the Avera shouldn't be visited on a person. The person should have those sins visited in that case, the Tarnagol, on the animal. So this was the exchange. And this action, which we're about to do, is going to validate this and then decide after the deal's finished that you now want to go back on your deal. We're going to close this deal. Shalom, person would take off his shoe. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, good. Person would take off his shoe, and what would happen is he would give it to the other, and he would give it to the other person. And v'zos ha'te'uda b'Yisrael, this was considered a te'uda. What's a te'uda? You go to Israel, you go to a Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, but you're going in and out. You're freezing.
Can you hear me?
Freezing every couple of
Are
seconds.
we back?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes. But
Okay,
you
Diane,
freeze. Yeah, you keep freezing every couple of seconds.
Okay, Diane, can you hear me? David, can you hear me? There's a bad connection. Not a good connection.
Rabbi, can I ask a question?
Yes, can you hear me though? That's what you can hear me. Can
hear you
everyone else
now.
hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So this shoe is or is not an act of chalitza? Is
No.
this about the redemption process, or is this just that he's not taking the real estate deal?
No. Well, this is not the formal form of chalitza as the alternative to yibum. This was just an exchange. A man would take off his shoe and he would give the shoe to the other person. This is no different than like what we'd call like a signature on a document or a gentleman's handshake or a kinyan chalipin where you take a pen and you lift it up in the air. It was a validation of the deal that's happening. It's a confirmation of a conforming of minds that both agree to the status of what's changing, what's exchanging.
So,
And basically what's happening is that deal, the exchange of the shoe would have happened if the Redeemer, if the Goel, if the Ploni Almoni would have wanted the deal. But the question is, who would have taken off the shoe? We'll get to that in a second. But if he would have accepted the deal, the action, the stamp, the notarizing activity that takes place is someone takes off the shoe and they stamp the shoe or they exchange the shoe, and that's the stamp of approval. The deal goes through. But since he reneges on the deal, doesn't want the field because understanding the field comes with the obligation to marry her. Now he wants the deal. Now he's going to take off his shoe and he's going to give it to the other person. That's going to be the indication of the deal being complete.
what creates the obligation to take the wife with the field? Is that Ruth's obligation? I mean, Naomi's obligation, or a halachic obligation?
That's A. That's A.
Okay.
That is not a
really,
halachic obligation.
Yibum is not really a part of this.
No. Halachic yibum is not part of this.
Got it. Thank you.
Confusing, which is why you're asking the question, which I think is a good question. It's a very important observation, is that when you use words like perpetuating the name of the deceased, that there's this marriage that's going to happen in order to facilitate that kindness, if you will, that's not to be confused with the actual mitzvah of Yibum, which is actually not taking place. There is not a Yibum, there's not a Chalitza. What's happening is that there's a Chesed, and the Chesed is that Naomi wants to perpetuate the name of her deceased husband and the deceased son-in-law, her deceased son, and that's going to happen al yidei the marriage of her daughter-in-law Ruth to Boaz, because it's a family. Got it? Does that make sense, Dr. Scott?
You've answered a lot of questions. Thank you. Resolved a lot of issues.
Okay, phew. I had my finger on the nuclear codes and I was like, not sure how that was going to work out tonight, but it seems like I've answered more important questions. So phew, thank you. Because this is more important actually, you must know. So Rashi says in this exchange in Pasuk Zayin, Shalaf Ish Nalo, this actually will even make it even clearer. Zeh Kinyan, this is an act of acquisition. And like some people would use a sudar. What's a sudar? A scarf. So instead, they would use a shoe. In this case, they used a shoe that was best. And if they didn't have a shoe, they would use a scarf. Okay? So now the question is, who gives to who? The rabbis tell us, they disputed the matter as to mi nosan lami. Who gave the shoe to whom? Like, it's like, who's the buyer, who's the seller? Yeah. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Did you unmute me? Okay. What's the comparison between the shoe here and the shoe in a divorce?
Right. That's Dr. Scott's question. He's correctly wondering, it seems as if there's like a commingling of concepts, which is there, in the case of divorce, it's actually not a traditional divorce. Yibum is where it's the act of marriage. If the deceased brother left the world childless, so the next brother marries through the act of Yibum. By living with her, marrying her, that's Yibum. The act of choosing not to marry, it's actually not called gerushin, it's not called divorce, it's called chalitza. And chalitza is the usage of the shoe, which is they would spit in the shoe. It was a whole ceremony that was used. And maybe that was kind of part and parcel of how deals were made, how things were finalized, how things were consummated.
I'm sorry. I think you misunderstood my question. The shoe, I understand what you're saying here about this shoe and what the concept here is. But what I'm saying is, how does that compare when you go to have a divorce? There's a shoe involved there. What is the comparison between that kind of giving of a shoe and this giving of a shoe?
Right. So let me just clarify one point. You're not talking about regular divorce, because regular divorce doesn't involve the shoe. You're talking about the chalitza part, right? So the answer. So what I would say to that is, when you use a pen or you use a handkerchief, that's not considered anything of a garment or of a utensil of any diminished status. What's a shoe? A shoe represents a lowliness. It's what you tread on. It's what you put your feet in. It's what goes on the floor to stamp out, right? So when a person chooses not to marry the yibum, they're degrading and disgracing the deceased brother by not choosing to stay, in that marriage. They don't want to, there's not going to be that marriage that's going to happen. So you use a shoe. In this capacity, what I think is maybe symbolic is the fact that a shoe is used, even though the connotation is that was the general practice of how things were determined in deals altogether and all away. But what I think what happened here is that there's something degrading about the fact that he chose not to accept the deal. The fact that Ploni Almoni looks at the purchase of the field and thus, and by extension, the marriage to Rus as something that would be a pagam, a blemish to his children because he fails to interpret the psukim, that's a blemish of his own. That's his own, misgiving. That's his own shortcoming. And maybe the symbolism of that is just like in the case of a yibum, for a person who does chalitza because they don't do yibum, it's like a missing, it's a lacking. So there's a lacking here. We're not celebrating the Ploni Almoni. In fact, that's the reason why we call him a Ploni Almoni. We don't even give him a name because his name was Tov. We don't want to say anything he did was good because actually what he did wasn't good. It's Boaz's good luck that he doesn't do something good, but it doesn't diminish the fact that he doesn't do something good. That's a good question. So we're not sure who does what. Mi no son lami. Yesh omrim kainin. Some say that one acquires title bichelo shel kaineh. Meaning who gives it? It's the acquirer, it's the buyer and the seller. Like whose shoe is it? So it's a machlekes of what it is. And that is first, the final ruling is it's the redeemer, it's the goel has to give his shoe to Boaz to say like he's almost like relinquishing his obligation. And that would fit very well, Diane, with your question, which is just like a a person who does chalitza, it's like diminishing and it's degrading to the deceased brother who now this person who's the next in line doesn't want to do that. So he's got to take off his shoe. It's a form of acquisition. There's no spitting, there's no degrading in that sense. But the usage and the optics of a shoe represents him choosing to renege on something that was rightfully his. Like, why would he not want it? In fact, you know the old saying of to bite your nose to spite your face? You ever hear that saying? My mom used to always tell me that. You bite your nose to spite your face. I hope my mom doesn't listen to this recording. Bite your nose to spite your face, right? Why? Because here he wanted the field. Here was good for him. But he chose it. He doesn't want the whole package. So he's not going to look at the big picture. He's going to look at what that's the part of it. I'm not saying him marrying her is a small part of it, but that was certainly not, enough to get him over, across the finish line. Okay? So now that this whole deal is set up, the possibility of now being Boaz's, this Goel takes the shoe off, and he now consummates the deal, as we're going to see now further. Vayomer HaGoel LeBoaz Keneloch, take it for yourself, acquire the field, acquire this woman. And so what happens? He says, how is he going to acquire it? Vayishlof Na'alo. He took off his shoe, and he takes it, and he gives it to Boaz, takes it. Vayomer Boaz Lizakanim, V'chol ha'am eidim atem hayom. He says to all the elders and he says to all the people, eidim atem hayom, you are all witnesses. Ki konisi es kol asher limelech v'es kol asher lichilyon machlon miyad naomi. You are witnesses. You are eidim to see that what I have acquired, everything that belongs to Elimelech, everything that belonged to his sons Kilion and Machlon, everything that was miyad naomi, and not only that, v'gam Yizrach B'tchak Tana verse 10, Pasuk Yud, the Games Rus HaMoaviyah, also Ruth the Moabite, Eishes Machlon, the wife of Machlon, Kanisi li Isha. And with that we say Mazel Tov. With that he acquires her as his wife. Why? Lahakim Shem Ameis al Nachaloso. It's interesting, even though he doesn't have a mitzvah of Yibum, but he says it straight outright to perpetuate the name of the deceased upon his inheritance. And Rashi explains, what does that mean? Mitoich she'ishto, since his wife was going to yoitza uba benachala, is going to come in and out of the estate benachala, umachneses umotzia oimrim, and when she's going to come in and out of the property, people are going to say oimrim zois haisa eishes machlon. They're going to remember her not as the wife of Boaz. Maybe eventually they're going to know her as the wife of Boaz. But they're going to say, you know who that person is? His wife, is going to be in the estate of Boaz, is going to live with him as the wife. That is the wife of Machlon. And therefore, Ushmo Nizkar Leha, and therefore his name will be remembered. You see, Yibum, the way the mitzvah is that they should bear seed, they should have children. And the name of the deceased brother would perpetuate with the birth of children. That's not this case. Classic case of Yibum is not this. It's just that there's going to be a zikaron. There's going to be a remembrance. There's going to be the ability to remember her late husband. Ushmo nizkar aleh, that's what Rashi says. And not only that, v'lo yikore shem ameis, and that the name of the deceased will not be cut off. And from one name Echav, from amongst his brother, or Mishar Mekoimim, from the gate of his place. Eidim atem hayom, and you four are there hereby now and forever witnesses. You're eidim hayom. You are witnesses today. It's very strong language to make sure that they are clear about their job, that they're paying close attention, and everything is as it's supposed to be. Vayomru kol ha'am, and the people that were there, Hashem b'shar v'zkenim eidim, and the elders, they said, eidim yitein Hashem es ha'isha. They say, we are witnesses. You see, by the way, you learn a lot in this process. Not only do they have to be appointed, not only do they have to be made clear about the terms of the deal, but not only does there have to be a transaction in their presence, right? Not only does there have to be a transaction in their presence, but there's something else that has to happen. It's like, if you've been to a Jewish wedding before, so the chassan and kala, the chassan stands under the chuppah and he's about to acquire his wife, and he says, Harei at mikudeshes li b'tabat zo. You are betrothed to me with this ring, right? So before that happens, there's the appointment of Eidim. There's appointment of witnesses. Now, for those of you who stood under the chuppah with your own family members, or you remember from your own weddings, so what you remember is that the Eidim have an obligation to say something. They have to say mikudeshes. It's not just the Eidim are standing there without purpose and without cause. The witnesses actually have to say, mikudeshes, that they're married. So the Eidim actually have to say that Eidim anachnu, we are Eidim, we are witnesses. We are aware of everything that's happening, and therefore we make it and confirm that what you've just told us is in fact as it's supposed to be. Eidim yitein Hashem es ha'isha, yitein Hashem, may Hashem make this woman who is haba el beisecha, who's coming to your home, she's going to be your wife, and here's what's fascinating. This is very interesting. Kirochel uchalea. Not only do they affirm that they're Eidim, but now what they do is they give a bracha. They give a bracha. So not only do they proclaim that, yes, what you say in front of us is in fact true and it's done, it's ratified, but now they say this woman who's your Isha, who's your wife, she should be like Kirochel uchalea. And obviously what's missing, where's Sarah? Where's Rivka? What's the relationship between Rachel? The sisters. Interesting observation. Can you hear me? There we
In and out.
Are we back?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
why is it Rachel and why is it Leah? Why is it that he said that the Eidim say you should be like Rachel and Leah? Sasher Bonu Shtehen, who built together as Beis Yisrael. They built. They were responsible for the Shvatim, with of course their maidservants, their maidwives. So if that's true, then that makes sense. That you should be. This woman should be built up like Rachel and like Leah. But here's what's interesting: that there's something else that's going on here. What's like Rachel and like Leah? So Rashi says, "Afal pi hayu meishevet Yehuda," even though they're from they concluded al Rachel shahaisa ikara shel bayis, that Rachel was the ikara shel bayis. She was the mainstay of the household, and therefore not only do they mention Rachel and Leah, but they mention Rachel before. Rachel. I don't know if you got that, but Rachel and Leah, and this is who they are being blessed after. Asher banu shtehen as Beis Yisrael. Hold on. Can you see me? Doc, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Connection.
We hear
Can hear
you,
you,
but
but you're
every
going
once
in
in
and
a while you freeze.
Okay, good. So they're asking to be like Asher Bon. Okay, good. Asher Shtei. So that should be Asher Bonu Shtei and as Beis Yisrael v'asechayil be'efrasa, and therefore you should perform the deeds of Chayil be'efrasa, of valor and Ephras. Ukra shame Beis Lochem, and you should now find fame in Beis Lochem, and that should be the bracha that should be founded upon you. Pasuk Yud Beis, verse number 12. Are we frozen again?
No, I can hear you.
Yeah, you're okay.
Okay, good. Pasuk Yud Beis, Vaybeischa kebeis Peretz, and your house should be like the house of Peretz. Now, this is also very interesting. What does it mean, the house of Peretz? Now, Peretz was from whom they descended. That's what Rashi says. Sheyotzu mimenu. That's where they descended from, right? Otherwise, they would have blessed Boaz to be like Ephraim and Menashe. But that's from whom they descended, and so therefore they're revoking the name of their forefather, which is just interesting when we say that. Vahi beischa beveis Peretz, asher yolda Tamar liYehuda, whom Tamar bore to Yehuda. Min hazera, from the offspring, asher yitein Hashem lecha, which Hashem gave you. Min hanara hazos, from this young woman. So now what happens? This is the deal. It is finalized. It is formalized. The Beis Din says yes. They sign this treaty. They get all the brachas. Pasuk Yud Gimel. Vayikach Boaz es Rus, and Boaz now takes Rus. Vati lo liisha, and he takes her as his wife, and he comes to her, they live together, and here, Baruch Hashem, Vayitein Hashem Lo, Herayon, and he makes, Hashem Yisbarach makes her conceive, and she gives birth, Vateled Ben, and she gives birth to a son, to a child. So again, we call the lineage, we call the generation from Peretz, that's from where they came. Now he lives with her. It's almost like he went to City Hall. He marries her. Today, you're supposed to get married first, then you go to the city clerk and you get a marriage document. Here he got his marriage document, and then he went back and he got married to her. And they conceive, and they give birth to a son. So now, what happens? The Taimarno Hanoshim El Naomi. Now it's interesting, they don't say this about Rus, but they say this now about Naomi. What do they say? Baruch Hashem. Blessed is Hashem. Asher lo hishpis lach. Hashem, who has not withheld anything from you. Goel hayom. That you have a goel today. You were redeemed today. And not only that, Vayikore Shemo B'Yisrael, you have a son. It's funny that they're calling the one who has the son, it's Naomi's son. Anybody who has a relationship with their grandchildren, they know that the relationship between parents and children, that's obvious, but between grandchildren and children, it's like, it's perhaps, certainly from this psukim, it represents a that Asher lo hishpis lo goyal hayom v'yikoresh, and then we say, as we say v'yikoresh shemo b'Yisrael, that the this child should be famous. Did you catch any of that? Did you miss me?
No, we didn't hear you.
Perak Aleph Pasuk Aleph. Vayihi b'mei shvot hashoftim. There was a time in his name. I'm just kidding. So what happened? Did you get did we celebrate the birth of the baby yet? Did we miss that?
Missed a little bit of it.
Oh, we can't miss the birth of the baby. So Pasuk Yud Gimel. Vayikach Boaz es Rus vatilo leisha. They become husband and wife. Mazel tov. Vayavo leha. He comes to. They have marriage. Vayitein Hashem lo hayrayon, and Hashem causes her to conceive. She has a baby. Vateled Ben. We get the whole of the baby. The child is born. What happens after this baby boy is born? The women who are talking. Now, I'm not saying women talk. Women like to talk to each other. That's from the beginning of time. The women are going to say, in a positive way, what are they saying? This is Naomi's child. They're going to say of each other, look, this is Naomi's baby. They're going to say to Naomi, Baruch Hashem, blessed is Hashem, Asher lo hishbis lach, who has not held anything from you. Go elayom, that even a kinsman, somebody redeemed you on this day, and you have a child on this day. Vayikore Shemo B'Yisrael. If you're familiar with naming a baby boy, a baby girl, what do we do when we name the child? Say Vayikore Shemo B'Yisrael. This will be the child's name. And actually, what we're saying is that this child should be famous. This child should be. How will this child be known in Israel? The child will be known as this or as that. Vayikore Shemo B'Yisrael. Somebody asks you, where do you get that nusach? Vayikore Shemo B'Yisrael. You say from Megillas Rus Perak Dalin, and that would be correct. So Pasuk Tezvav v'hayalach l'meishiv nefesh, and you should know he will be unto you a meishiv nefesh. You're going to have your life back. And this child is going to support you in your old age. The relationship between grandchildren and grandparents and grandchildren is extraordinary. Everyone is celebrating. The women are talking about this being Naomi's child is going to support her in her old age. Why? Because your daughter, who loves you, this daughter-in-law, Rus, who loves you, Yiladotu, this daughter-in-law gave birth to this son for you. And you should know, Ashahi Toivalach Mishiva Bonim. This daughter-in-law is better for you than 7 sons. You have something extraordinary and special with this daughter-in-law, with this Rus, that even how great is she is even better than 7 sons. Pasuk Tezayin, we're wrapping up here. Vatikach Naomi Esayel, and Naomi takes this child. Again, the grandmother, the Babi, the Savta, takes the child. And she holds this child, she holds this child in her chest very tight, and she becomes the wet nurse of this child. Look at this relationship. She's going to raise this child. She's going to nurse this child. So now what happens? Now what has to be is, they have to now decide, then they actually, it's interesting, the neighbors gave him a name. Oh, that's interesting. Usually the parents give the name, right? But here it says that the hashchenos give the name. The neighbors gave the name. What did they say? Lemer Yulad ben Naomi, that a son has been born to Naomi. Interesting. Vatikreno shmoi Oived, and they gave the name of this boy Oived. I don't know. I find that's very interesting that Boaz and Rus were not involved in naming this child. Can you imagine? I actually, one of my older brother, I have one older brother, he has a name. His English name is Daniel, and his Hebrew name is Yirmiyahu. Because at the time of his birth, so I was told, because obviously I wasn't there, that my grandfather wanted his name to be Yirmiyahu. So when they said to me, Korei Shmo B'Yisrael, my Opa was standing right there, said Yirmiyahu. And by the way, that became no protesting, because that's what happened, and that's what it was. So the neighbors name him Oived, who Avi Yishai, and this Oived becomes the father of Yishai, Avi David, who's the father of David. Fine. Now that we've listed this lineage, we're going to do it in a very dramatic ending in Pasuk Yud Ches. Final and powerful number of psukim in this parak and in this whole Megillah. Ve'ela told us parrots. And again, why do we list parrots? Because Shiyotzu Mimenu, Rashi said, because this is from whom these people come from. Ve'ela told us parrots holy des chetzron. That now we're going to go from parrots who had chetzron. And we know, Pasuk Yud Tes v'chetzron, holy des Ram. His son was Ram, Viram, holy des Aminadav. And Ram, so if you want to have like a Bible bee, who was Nachshon's grandfather. That's right. His name was Ram. Not the type of rum with a U, rum with a rum. I don't know if that makes sense. Viram holides Aminadav. Aminadav holides Nachshon. Aminadav had Nachshon. V'Nachshon holides Salma. That's this the direct link here, this connection is Salma. V'Salmon. That's actually Salmon, Salmon. Seems to be two different people. All different, right? V'Salmon holides Boaz. And Boaz holides Oived. And finally, the pasuk that we've all been waiting for, the last verse of the Megillah, V'Oived holides Yishai. And it was Oived who had Yishai. The Yishai holides David HaMelech. David, and Yishai, Jesse bears and gives birth to his son with his wife to David, who becomes David HaMelech Yisrael Chai Avikayam, David HaMelech. And of course, the famous ending here is meaningful because we see that coming and descending from Rus, the Moabite, is David HaMelech. And as we famously know, when the pasuk says Vayelech Ish, when we say that a man went out, it's a very important and powerful Baal HaTurim. And with this, I guess we'll draw close here. The Baal HaTurim says that when we said at the beginning of the Megillah, Vayelech Ish, and then finally, the moment later, the next pasuk, it says that his name is Elimelech. So if that's true, so why do we have to say Vayelech Ish? So the answer is that we have a similar connotation in Shemos when it says Vayikach Ish es Isha. When we talk about Moshe Rabbeinu's parents, who were Amram and Yocheved, so why does it say Vayelech Ish in the case here in Megillas Rus, and why does it say Vayikach Ish es Isha in Shemos at the beginning of the second book of the Torah? So the answer is the Baal HaTurim says that there's only two times in Tanakh that the words Vayelech Ish appear. So the first one appears here in Elimelech, and here you have another one with Moshe Rabbeinu. Why these are the only times? The Baal HaTurim says the first Vayikach Ish es Isha, the first one rather is Moshe Rabbeinu brings the first Redeemer, the first Vayelech and Vayikach, the unknown, unnamed parents, first and foremost. So who comes from that union? The first Redeemer. And who comes from the second unknown union of the unnamed person of Elimelech? So that next, of course, is the second Redeemer, the Redeemer being the descendant of David HaMelech, Melech HaMashiach. So it's very powerful to know the potential and the potential of a convert, and the potential of the Isha, of Ruth, despite the fact that she descended from a place and a people and a land that the Torah identifies for the male of that place should never enter into Kahal Hashem, but not the women. And she not only enters lovingly and willingly and desperately and connectedly and steadfastedly, but not only that, but now she also bears seed to with this whole process and this whole deliverance of this narrative. She now gives birth to David HaMelech, which is of course a very, very powerful ending of the story. Any questions, comments, concerns as we end the fourth and final chapter of Megillas Rus? Yes, Dr. Burgess.
Yeah, the question I always had with Ruth, they put so much stock on perpetuating the name of the deceased person, whether that person was good or bad. You don't get a picture of Machlon or Chilya, either of them, being